Here are some of the other predictions for Florida State. You can see the FPI has them at 6.8 and 5.3, so about 7-5. Same thing for Athlon, 7-5. The over/under is at 6.5, so that means 6-6 or 7-5. Everything really lining up there for 6-6 or 7-5 for this upcoming season. Looking at Florida State, they lose some really good players from last year's team, but they've added some nice pieces in the transfer portal. It really starts and ends with Jordan Travis. This team has enough talent to be one of the better teams in the ACC. Jordan Travis brings a lot to the offense with his running ability, but can he get it done through the air? Or can they be creative enough for him to use his legs and make big plays? That's really the story. Jordan Travis will determine how good this Florida State team is in 2022. I think he's a good quarterback. I think you obviously could get a little bit more from him in the passing game. And it seems like Florida State fans are split. You see some that love him and some that think maybe they should have tried to get somebody else in the transfer portal or something. But I think he's a very solid quarterback, and I think that he just using his legs is going to give them some things on offense. They should have a really good rushing attack this upcoming season. So let's get into the schedule and go game by game. You see, of course, they play LSU in the non-conference and also Florida. So they're going to play 2 SEC teams this year. That will be fun. They open up with Duquesne. I believe that's how you pronounce it. And they play week 0, so they get a game under their belt before having to play LSU. That could benefit them. And we'll go ahead and start with that first game and call it a win and move on to this to this LSU game, I should say. This one is going to be, I think, a pretty good game. I just don't know if Florida State, across the board, I don't think they have the talent to match up with LSU for a full 4 quarters. I think it will be a good game. Could even be similar to Florida State's game against Notre Dame last year. Of course, Brian Kelly, the coach at Notre Dame last year, now moving over to LSU. And there are a lot of unknowns with LSU. So if I'm a Florida State fan, I wouldn't count them out of this game. I think they have a chance. But my gut feeling is that LSU will win it by, in a close game, maybe about 10 points, 10 to 14 points, kind of in that range, where it will be close, but LSU, at the end of the day, will just be the better team. So I'm going to go with LSU to win that game. Florida State drops to 1-1. Louisville's up next on the road. I'm really high on this Louisville team. I think they're going to be good this year. I know some people maybe would disagree with that. I think Malik Cunningham, a very underrated quarterback. I think he's going to bring a lot for them. Coming back this year, I think will be big. They've got some weapons around him. A lot of production really coming back for Louisville. If you look at them across the board, I think they could be a surprise team in the ACC. And given that and the fact that Florida State plays them on the road, this is going to be a tough one. I'm going to go with Louisville to get the win. Maybe a bit of an upset, but I think Florida State drops to 1-2. And then they play Boston College, another pretty good team. They've got a decent amount of production coming back this year, including their starting quarterback as well. This will be a really good game, in my opinion. Maybe even a coin flip type game, but home field advantage could be the difference. I'm going to say that Florida State wins this game. They beat Boston College, and they go to 2-2. Wake Forest up next. This will be a good one. Wake Forest will have a very explosive offense this year. I expect them to score a lot of points. Florida State, I think, can match them just because Wake Forest is not going to have that strong of a defense. So I think this game will turn into a shootout. It'll go back and forth. Be a really good game, an exciting game. And I think playing at home, Florida State is going to have enough. I think they bounce back from the back-to-back losses to win back-to-back games and win some big ones here by beating Boston College and Wake Forest. NC State coming up next on the road. Well, this is a tough one right here. NC State brings a lot of production back this year, including their starting quarterback. How about all the starting quarterbacks returning in the ACC? There were a lot of them this year. And this is going to be a very complete NC State team. They'll have it on both sides of the ball. Tough team to beat. Plus, they're playing them on the road. All of that adds up to a win for NC State, in my opinion. Florida State drops to 3-3, and then they have to play Clemson. I think they have a shot in this game. They're playing at home. We saw them play with Clemson last year. I know this Clemson defense is going to be really, really good this year, but they do still have some question marks on offense. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, but still, I think it's a game that Florida State can compete in. I don't expect them to get blown out at all in this game. I think it will be a 4-quarter game, but Clemson just a little too good, a little too deep. They find a way to get it done on the road. Florida State drops to 3-4, and at this point, if you're 3-4, I think people will start. They'll be ready for Mike Norvell potentially to be fired. He's going to be on the hot seat at this point, I would say. But they do get Georgia Tech next, a team that figures to be towards the bottom of the ACC. I think they bounce back in a big way. I think they beat Florida State, and then that'll get them to 4-4. But then they have to play Miami on the road. A really good Miami team this year. I'm very high on this team. Some people think I'm crazy, but I do. I think Miami is going to be really good this year. The best team that they've had in a long time. The fact that it's on the road, I know it's a rivalry, so being on the road doesn't necessarily mean too much. It's going to be intense. It's going to be, I think, a hard-fought game, but I've got to go with Miami. I think they're the better team. Drops Florida State back to 4-5. So then, again, the hot seat may be heating up even more if you're 9 games into the season with a losing record. But I think they'll bounce back after that. They play Syracuse next on the road. Maybe a bit of a slow start after the tough loss to Miami, but then they pull away in the second half. Not real high on Syracuse. I think Florida State definitely the better team. I think they'll get a win there. Then they'll play Louisiana. I know they've had some really good seasons as of late, but Billy Napier is gone. Game is at home for Florida State. Can't count anything as a guaranteed win, especially after last season. But I do think Florida State will get it done. They beat Louisiana to get to 6-5. Go ahead and get that bowl bid locked up there before even having to play Florida. Florida has gotten the better of Florida State as of late, but I think this year Florida State gets them. They're playing at home. The two teams I think are pretty even. It's going to be a good one. Maybe a little bit more motivation for Florida State playing at home after losing last year. I think the Seminoles get it done. I've got them beating Florida and finishing 7-5. So I think this team comfortably makes it to a bowl game this year. 7-5, maybe even 8-4. I mean, they might not lose to Louisville. They might not lose Miami. They may not lose that game, but I think 7-5 is a pretty good spot for them, and that's going to be my prediction for Florida State for 2022.